Welcome back, NBA fans and Knick fans watching. I'm trying to do a little different video today. This video is going to talk about the Joker. Do you guys ever wonder sometimes when somebody wins an MVP award whether or not they deserved it? And you're always looking for a way to figure out whether they deserved it. You want to look at the stats and compare it to all the other players. And this is what the video is about. So I'm essentially looking at last year's MVP candidates, including Nikola Jokic, to see if he actually deserved the MVP award. And my short answer is yes. He had a hell of a season last year. He played great. He played on a winning ball club, contributed in so many different ways for his team, and I truly believe he truly deserved that MVP award. One great thing that we love about Nikola Jokic is not just his overall offense. Obviously, he's a great passer. As you can see with some of these passes, he's always dropping dimes to his teammates. He's a great scorer. The other thing people don't really talk about with Jokic is the fact that he's also a really good defender. And so now let's just get to this ranking that I have here. So these are stats that I got from basketballreference.com, and that's what I'm using to evaluate these 10 candidates, and in order to do some tests and figure whether or not the Joker actually deserved the MVP award, or if there was someone else on this list. And so what I also did, if you notice on the list, I highlighted four names here. The first one was Nikola Jokic, Stephen Curry. The next was Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo. These were the top four candidates for the MVP, so that's why I highlighted them, and so you guys can see where they fell after I did my analysis and resorted the list. And so now we're going to talk a little bit about this, about the list that I have here and the stats that are on the screen right here, and talk and just tell you guys exactly what they are and how they contribute to my decision. And so, of course, we're on the screen here, going from left to right. On the left hand side, we have the player. And then we have the team they play for. We have the win-loss percentage. We have the games played. We have total rebounds, assists, steals, block, turnovers, points, true shooting percentage. Now this here is where I edited the list, or I amended the list, or added to it. And so I added a column for the offensive rating, defensive rating, and the net rating for each of these players. Now, the offensive rating, defensive rating, and the net rating, these statistics also come from basketballreference.com. And these are all, like I said, for the 2020-2021 season. Now, this stat right here, this column here, it says R-net rating and difference. So essentially these are correlation scores for the relationship between the net rating and the team's performance. And so essentially how I came out with the score was I essentially downloaded the statistics for all the games that these guys played last year. And I found out what the net rating was for each of the games. And then I found out how many points they won or lost by for each of those games, right? So obviously make sure they all line up. And then I went to Excel and I did a correlation test. And basically, when you do a correlation test, and when I did the correlation test in Excel, these are the scores that I came up with. And so then this column over here, it says R, and then in parentheses, net rating and difference. It's the same thing as this, the correlation score over here. The only difference, I turned it into whole numbers. And the reason why I turned it into a whole number is because I wanted to be able to incorporate the net rating and this the correlation score for net rating and the point differential. And so in order for me to do that effectively, I turned this from decimal or percentages into a whole number. And then after I did that, I added the correlation score to the net rating to come up with a new score. And so once I came up with this new score, I then, I resorted the whole list. And of course, when I resorted the whole list, voila, the Joker was still on top. And so basically, I was very consistent, obviously. So whatever I did for statistics for the Joker, I did the same thing for everyone else on the list. Um, but let's start talking. Let's talk a little more about why the Joker deserves to win this MVP. Let's dive a little more into the statistics. First and foremost, the team won 65% of their games. The second thing is Joker played 72 of the 72 games last year. Now, last year was a very tough season because he also was in the playoffs the previous year where he played in a bubble. So there was a very short off season. And because there was a very short off season, a lot of these guys, if you look at the list of the MVP candidates, uh, the only one who played close to the same amount of games as the Joker was Steph Curry. Steph Curry only was missed one game. The rest of these guys, missed quite a few games. Giannis played missed 5 games, which isn't too bad, but but the rest of these guys did miss some games, and so Joker was the only one who played 72 games. And honestly, I think that that really counts for a lot. That was extremely impressive, to basically to commit to playing all 72 games and to help his team be in the best position for the postseason. The other thing was his the total rebounds. He averaged 10.8 rebounds per game. He averaged 8 assists a game, 1.3 steals a game, less than one, under one rebound a game, 3 turnovers, and 26 points. I mean, these stat lines are extremely impressive. I mean, like it's very rare you see players putting up these kind of stats, let alone a center, especially a center putting up over 8 assists a game. That's just insane, you know. And then his true shooting percentage was 66%. He's a very efficient ball player, extremely efficient. And so that kind of shows up in the offensive rating here. So his offensive rating was 132, which was tied with Gobert as the highest for all the MVP candidates. So at the bottom, if you notice at the bottom, there's some numbers down here, some stats down here. These are the average. These are basically the average of all the stats up top. And so, like if we're going from left to right, so basically the average win percentage for the candidates was 62% for their team. Joker's team won 65% of the game. Uh, the average games played was 61. He played all 72. Average rebound was 8. He averaged 10.8. Average assist was 6. He averaged 8 assists. Average steal was 1.2. He averaged 1.3 steals. Average block was zero point 0.8. He was about a little below the number of blocks they average, you know. But however, he was still a very effective defensive player. Turnovers was a little higher than average. The average 2.85. He averaged 3.1. Average points was 25, basically 26. He averaged 26.4. Average true shooting percentage was 63, and he was at 66%. Average offensive rating is 124. He was at 132. Average defensive rating was 110, and he was dead smack at 110. The average net rating was 14, and he was at 22. So he had, aside from Gobert, Gobert had the highest net rating. He had the second highest net rating out of everyone on this list here. And then on top of that, he also had the highest correlation score. Now, the correlation score by itself doesn't necessarily mean you deserve to win the MVP. Uh, Basically, what the correlation score is telling me is that, like, because I'm comparing the net rating to the team's performance, and so what it tells me is the contribution that you're making to each of these games. When the correlation score is this high, that means there's a relationship between your contribution and the team being able to win and lose games. And if you notice, there's it's not always necessarily a good thing, right? However, because they won 65% of their games and his net rating was so high, so that means they won a lot of games. And so, because his contribution had such a high impact, this tells me his contribution has a very high impact on the number of games and the number of games the teams won. And so, he's basically a big factor in all those games that they won. And they were one of the best teams in the league. And so because of that, because he has such a high net rating, he has such a high contribution to the team, and because there's you can tie his performance to that, to their team's performance, and because they're winning, I think because of that, he deserves to win the MVP. Now, there's other guys actually that also have fairly decent high correlation scores, but it wasn't as high as the Joker. The one thing that's really interesting, Giannis Antetokounmpo, his was at 53%, right? Giannis, in my opinion, is a more dominant player, is a better player than Nikola Jokic. However, the Bucks just has a better team, right? So this is where all this stuff comes in. This is why Giannis Antetokounmpo, his correlation is basically his impact on the game is muted when you look at the correlation score because he has other great really good players on the team, and so the team's winning is not solely dependent on his offensive output every game. They just have a more complete team, and so because of that, you know you can have players that are probably better than Jokic. In my opinion, they are better than him, but however, they're not going to have as high as a correlation score. So that's just how I see it. But however, the Joker, you can make a case he might be better than Giannis because if you look at the net rating, you look at his offensive rating, which is 132, is much higher than Giannis. It's 10 points higher than Giannis, and Giannis is a better defender than the Joker. Although the statistics say he's about 2 points better, the ratings say he's about 2 points better. I'm not sure about that. In my opinion, like I said, I do believe Giannis is a better player. But however, Joker is a very good player. Obviously, one of the best in the league, and because he has such a huge impact on his team's performance and their ability to win games, he definitely deserved to win the MVP trophy. And so, guys, this is like my case for the Joker. He won the MVP trophy, and this is just me, talking about why I believe he deserved to win that MVP trophy. Please, guys, let me know what you think about this video. Let me know what you guys think about you know the correlation score that I came up with. Specifically, obviously, uh, we're not talking about the math. We're just talking about like the statistics that I use, that I'm looking at. Obviously, using the net rating to compare it to the point differentials for each game. We can talk. You guys can comment on that. And let me know what you think. That's cool. Also, let me know what you think about like this new rank that I created. Basically, the new score that I created in order to make a new rank. Let me know if there's a better way. If you think there's a better way to create a new score. Like I said, with this score right here, uh, on the rank, essentially what I did was I converted this correlation score from a percentage to a whole number, and then I added the correlation score, this whole number, and the net rating to come up with a new score, and then I sorted it. So let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know what you think about the Joker. Comment below, like, subscribe, and hopefully I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.